Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and today's video I'm going to be doing a ranking Left 4 Dead video, and by that I mean I'm going to be doing a Left 4 Dead tier list where I'm going to be ranking the special infected from worst to best. We haven't done a top 5/top 10 or even a tier ranking video, as a matter of fact, in a long time. In fact, this is going to be my very first time doing it in this sense of the word, with the ranking it from worst to best, because normally I would just do top 5 or top 10, which would be like a select few items or select few things. And now what I want to do is I want to do a rank from worst to best or best to worst. I want to mix things up with those types of videos. So hopefully you guys can respect that. If you guys end up enjoying today's video at any point, because you guys have been enjoying the Left 4 Dead stuff so much, please definitely consider dropping a like. It's always greatly appreciated. I'd be more than happy to provide you with more Left 4 Dead content in the future. But yeah, we're going to be starting to do some more videos about top 10/top 5/ranking. And hopefully you guys end up enjoying. And we're going to be doing about the game that we're all loving right now at the moment, which is going to be the Left 4 Dead series. And what we are going to be doing is we're going to be actually taking Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2 and putting them together, just because Left 4 Dead 2 is basically just Left 4 Dead at this point. It's remakes and remasters of all the other maps too, so it's essentially one game, and it's overall more better and full with jam-packed content, so we're going to be looking at it from that sense. So let's take a look at these 3 qualifications that these special infected have to meet in terms of how I am ranking them. We're going to be looking at what's like to verse the infected, what's going to be like playing as the infected, and then also we're going to be adding in, because it's, Spooktober and it's October, it's one of my favorite months of the year, and we're going to be doing a horror element, we're also going to be adding in scare factor. So playing as, versing as, and then also just how creepy/scary they are. So let's begin with the least spot in terms of the least preferred special infected. This is going to be the Boomer. The Boomer is a classic. He's obviously from Left 4 Dead 1, but the thing is, though, is that he's got really no thing going for him. He's not really that scary. I mean, sure, he looks a little bit weird and disturbed, but he kind of looks like goofy. He looks more like kind of dorky than he does look intimidating. His music is not nearly as creepy as any of the other special infected. The way he just looks like a really ugly fat dude. I mean, that's literally all he is. He's immediately an insta-kill with pretty much every single gun in the whole entire game, so he's very easy to kill, which makes him not really, once again, that threatening. And really the worst thing he can do is kind of just surround you and inconvenience you, but he's not just scary/intimidating by himself, which makes him not really that much of a threat in my eyes, because there is a psychological effect. Like, if you're scared, you're on edge, you're more prone to error, which can allow it to go into the infected's favor. So, with the Boomer, since he's also extremely weak, nobody likes playing as him. So overall, the Boomer is just that kind of classic, just like noob, friendly, he's just there to be there. Just that special infected that nobody really cares for. It's kind of like, he's just the worst of many. He's the weakest link, and, the worst of something that is in a game. So the Boomer, nobody really likes, but hopefully the Boomer will once again, shine through despite all the suffering he's been through and still be a good special infected one day. Who knows? But yeah, so that is going to be the Boomer. Now it's going to be moving on to the next infected. And this infected is going to end up being the Smoker. So for the Smoker, the reason why I'm putting the Smoker here is because, once again, he's just another classic character. He's a classic zombie from Left 4 Dead 1. He overall definitely has a lot more intimidation/scary factor than the Boomer does. His music is a lot more eerie, especially when you also keep in mind when he grabs you, because there's different music for when you're near a special infected versus when they're actually attacking you. And both types of music for the Smoker are definitely pretty eerie, especially if you were new to the series or you're just, a very jumpy person. He definitely has that spooky vibe about him. And his face definitely looks disturbing due to the warts and just the freaky-ass tongue. Now, playing as him, he's not necessarily my favorite cup of tea, because he is more of a campy character, and I never really liked that. He's kind of like the sniper or the marksman of the group. He essentially is using his tongue as a giant reaching tool. Now, he could be versatile in that sense, where you can actually pull somebody to a ledge or even completely knock them off the map if you grab them with your tongue right. But overall, he's more of a campy playstyle. And the thing is, your tongue does have a reaching point where eventually it cannot grab somebody if they're too far away, or if they cut around a corner and then the tongue breaks. It just doesn't work as easily as it should. So the Smoker is kind of like a little bit garbage in that sense. But versing him, he can get you. versing him, you actually can get easily screwed over by a smoker. If they're off sniping and it's the AI, especially if you're on like the more veteran modes, you know, if you're not careful, these things will get you, especially if you're at the end of the game and it's like maybe just like you and one other person. So you don't want to definitely go running off in your group. However, though, I just think that there's definitely a lot more intimidating special infected that are out there on this list. So yeah, that is going to be the smoker. Now let's move on to the next special infected. So the next special infected is going to be from Left 4 Dead 2 this time, and this is going to be the Spitter. The Spitter is kind of another weak-ass, you know, zombie that doesn't really do much in terms of like what she's able to end up completing towards the survivors. Because her music is not really that scary. I mean, it's just kind of meh. I mean, sometimes it can, you know, throw you a little bit off guard if you have your music blaring. But if you're in control of your music volume, she's not really that intimidating based off her looks nor her music. And so she's just kind of meh. And her ability, yes, once again, is just kind of another campy ability. Now, in this sense, you're seeing something from the gameplay where she can be comboed very well, and if you have somebody like a smoker or a hunter pinning one down, and you spit on them, you actually can be able to do a lot of damage, and you can actually be able to end up screwing the enemies over that way, especially if they're campers. But if they're not necessarily campers, and they definitely can keep themselves away from you at a distance, you really are going to have to rely on accuracy / just luck. And versing them, they're not really that intimidating because they're one of the more weaker characters. And if you have like something like a shotgun, you're just going to insta-kill the Spitter, and there's nothing really that the Spitter can do about it. So the Spitter is okay. Definitely not as bad as the Smoker because she requires less accuracy. But the Spitter overall is just not really my cup of tea, and I could kind of just go without her. The next special infected that I'm going to be going over, and I really hate to put this guy here because it's not exactly a bad, you know, special infected. They're all good in their own ways. But the thing is that this guy, even though I love him for the memes, I unfortunately have to put him here just because fundamentally there's characters that are much better. And this is going to be the classic, the good, ya boy, the Karma Charger. The Karma Charger is definitely a piece of work. This guy, if you get caught by him on like Dead Center or some other elevated map, you know, you're going to be basically insta-killed. Like, if he is in the right spot, he will insta-kill you. There's no way, you know, if and or but about it. Like, he is a very versatile character. If he fundamentally wants to sacrifice himself, which I've seen Chargers do multiple times, because the Chargers are ballsy, they will insta-kill themselves to kill you. And like I said, if you're playing something like Dead Center, there's no way you can avoid them unless you just happen to get extremely lucky. And these guys definitely have a lot more of an intimidation factor / scare factor. I personally think the Charger does look very intimidating. The warped, you know, disturbingness shape of his body definitely makes him more intimidating with the one giant big arm, but then the one little arm, he looks deformed and just creepy looking. And plus also his music is definitely on par. His dun-dun dun-dun dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Like, where it goes from slow to really fast, just eerie music when you know he's nearby you. And then you hear that woo, and you just know he's about to get you, and then he crashes into you, and he's got you pinned. The music definitely puts you on edge and makes you very uncomfortable, or at least it does for me. So the Charger is just one of those guys that is like a mini tank. He can definitely be very effective, especially due to his speed. He can just chase after you, insta-kill you if you really want to. Definitely very intimidating. Playing as him can be fun. I mean, it's a little bit niche, but definitely is. And if you're on Veteran and you're like, you know, playing something like the campaigns, like I said, that will kill you if it's in his favor, depending on what you picked, it definitely can end up messing you up. So that is where I put the Charger. Let's move on to the next spot. The next spot that I'm going to be picking is going to be the Jockey. Now, this little shit I do not like whatsoever as where I'm playing against him because these things always seem to kill me. The Jockey is a small hitbox, so it's very, very hard to be able to hit him. The thing is literally the speed of lightning, it feels like. It sometimes feels like it's faster than the Charger, and combining that with his small hitbox makes it impossible to shoot him, and with him jumping all over the place, I mean, he's literally got like an exosuit built into himself. The Jockey is just very, very annoying to go up against, but you gotta respect that the fact that he is a very useful character when you're playing as him in versus. Because of the fact that you are small, because of the fact that you are speedy and hard to hit, it's also good to be able to use him. So he's annoying to go up against, but he's fun to use. Or he's at least you know, a good character to use. I don't personally have as much fun with him as, like, let's say something like the Hunter, which will be later on in the list. But he definitely can be useful and contribute to the group. He's just kind of like a more campy hunter, if that makes any sense, because he can't jump nearly as far, and his his ability is mostly to move you into danger. That's kind of essentially what he's trying to do. He's a combo character, and he can take you away from your group and really mess you up. His music and his posture and his look definitely is one of the more scary out of the whole entire group. I would say that Jockey definitely is one of like a top 3 in terms of the creepiness factor. That gaping jaw, that hunched over back, and that horrendous, just eerie ass, just creepy ass, scary ass laugh that he does. That definitely makes him one of the creepiest special infected that you can run into. The Jockey is a top 3 for scare factor for sure. His music, his look, his laugh, everything. Playing as him and playing against him, though, definitely could be better. But I will say that he definitely is deserving of being up higher on the list than the others. The next special infected that we're going to be having here as we move on, this is going to end up being the Hunter. The Hunter is probably my favorite of the original special infected, like the original, as in like the first 5, other than of course the Tank and the Witch. But I would probably say overall, I personally prefer the Hunter. The Hunter is just a classic. The Hunter is that one special infected from Left 4 Dead. Other than I probably would say the Witch, that's probably the most iconic. The Witch, the Tank, and the Hunter are probably the most 3 iconic zombies that you think of in Left 4 Dead, just because they're so memorable. The Hunter has that ear-piercing screech that he does. He can jump super far. He can jump super high. Very dangerous and very lethal. He's very fun to use in versus mode. And he's also even fun to go up against because he has that scare factor about him. His music is definitely intimidating. And overall, even though his look is subtle, he's got that mysterious, really cool, eerie vibe about him, which makes me like him. So that is going to be it for the Hunter. And now we've only got a select few infected that we're going to be having left. So if you can guess, it's going to be either the Witch or the Tank. But the question is which one? Which one am I going to be putting here at the end of the day? We could either go for the Witch for the more scary / eerie / creepiness factor, or we can go for the Tank based off the pure gameplay element, because that's kind of what they have going in favor for them. So what makes it more important in Left 4 Dead? Fear factor or gameplay? Welp, I will tell you that at the end of the day, for me, no matter what, it's always going to be gameplay. So unfortunately, as much as I would hate to do this, the number 2, we're going to have the Witch. The Witch, other than the Jockey, is probably the second scariest special infected in the whole entire series. The only reason why the Witch is slightly less scary than the Jockey is just because of the fact that she's not nearly as aggressive and not nearly as sinister. If you leave the Witch alone and you know what you're doing, the Witch is not honestly a threat. She theoretically can be either your worst threat or your least threat, because she doesn't attack you whatsoever unless you provoke her. But if you provoke her, she could either down you or even insta-kill you depending on what difficulty you are playing. Anything under Expert, she will knock you down. Expert mode, she will insta-kill you. And she's such an interesting character, she's the only special infected you cannot play as in the series. So unfortunately, she doesn't have that going for her, where you can play as the Witch, because I can't rank it off based on playing if it doesn't exist unless you have a mod, and I'm not going to be basing this off of mods. So, purely playing against her, she definitely has that really terrifying music, that just horrid cry that she has that definitely puts you on edge. And she looks creepy as hell. The only reason why she's less than the Jockey is just because the Jockey's more aggressive, which makes him much more annoying / horrible to play against, making him therefore also more creepy. So, fundamentally, at the end of the day, that is the Witch. She's scary. She definitely has a fear factor going for her, but you can't play as her. And theoretically, she's only a threat if you attack her, which nobody really has a reason to attack her unless she's just in the way or you shoot her on accident. So that is why, at number 1, we've got to have the Tank. The Tank is the most balanced / fun / just overall great zombie in the game, because you can play as him. He's the boss zombie that you can play as / verse against. He will always attack you if you run into him. And he's definitely a threat. He really, really is. He's got the most HP of any special infected. He's pretty damn fast if he wants to be. He has ranged attacks and close attacks, with the fact that if you're playing on anything under Expert, he can pretty much hit you in a couple shots, and you're pretty much toast. And if you're playing on Expert mode, he will actually incapacitate you in one hit, just like the Witch does. And the Tank is funny. The Left 4 Dead 1 Tank was much more selective. The Left 4 Dead 2 Tank is a lot more aggressive. The Left 4 Dead 1 Tank would select one person at a time and kill them and then move on. Left 4 Dead 2 tank would knock a person down and then move on, which means that they can end up getting more people before he's likely to die, causing you to die sooner. Because in Left 4 Dead, if you down and everyone else is down, that's the same equality as if you were dead. So Left 4 Dead 2 tank is definitely a lot more intimidating and aggressive, at least in terms of his AI. In terms of look, they look both pretty damn intimidating. I mean, a big hulking giant-ass zombie, and the Left 4 Dead 2 one definitely looks more decrepit and decayed, or decaying. So his music, very intense. I wouldn't say eerie. It's intense, rather. Like, you know, the dun 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 dun, because he doesn't have an incapacitating music. He just has his one song, but it's definitely intimidating. You know what's about to go down when you run into this guy. And when you play as him, it's probably the most fun you'll ever have in a while. You can throw rocks at people and snipe. You can chuck cars or any machinery that you see nearby. You can run pretty decently. You can fling people around and insta-kill people, essentially, if you flung them off the edge of a mountain or you flung them off the edge of a cliff, which makes it so that way you are pretty damn strong. And when you face against him, you know, it's really fun. You know it's intense. He's always at the end of the finales. And he's the final boss. He is the boss. It's the end, you know, game. It's the show. You know, it's really, really fun to me to have that last hurrah, the last epic battle, especially if there's multiple tanks, such as like in Swamp Fever or The Sacrifice or Last Stand, when it's a lot more intense. And plus also just the tank, he's just cool. He's fun to play as, he's fun to play against, and he definitely is pretty damn intimidating. So that is going to be my ranking, guys, of all the Left 4 Dead Special Infected. I hope you guys ended up enjoying. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this list down below in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed another YouTube video from the most unique YouTuber you guys will ever see. Peace out, guys.